Very good morning to all the students. Students, in the last lecture, we had already started with the topic tenses, right? What is a tense? Tense is the form of the verb which shows what? The time of an action. And also its degree of completeness. So what does an tense shows? Tense shows the time of an action and its degree of completeness. Whether the action is completed, whether the action is incomplete, whether the action is still going on, right? So, kinds of tenses. There are three kinds: present, past and future. And each of these three main tenses has four forms. One is simple indefinite, that is yes. Second is continuous tense. Third is perfect tense. And fourth is perfect continuous tense. First two, simple present and present continuous, we've already done. Moving on to the third one is your present perfect tense. What is present perfect tense? Present perfect tense denotes an action completed at the time of speaking. Here, the action is completed. For example, Sumit has worked out the sum. So here, subject is Sumit has worked out the sum. Sumit has completed what? The sum. He has already performed the action of calculating the sum. Right? This is an affirmative sentence. If I need to change it into a negative sentence, what am I going to do is, I will just put not before the main verb. For example, Sumit has not. Where the not will come? Here. Sumit has not worked out the sum. So this becomes a negative sentence. And if I talk about an interrogative sentence, then what I told you, you are going to be placing has before the subject. For example, has Sumit worked out the sum? And then you put a question mark, making it an interrogative sentence. So what is the structure? By the above examples, what is the structure of present perfect tense? Subject plus has or have plus past participle, which you also call it as third form of verb. Right? Plus object. So this is the structure of your present perfect tense. Now moving on to the next one. Next is your present perfect continuous tense. So the fourth form of the present tense is present perfect continuous tense. Now what is present perfect continuous tense? Present perfect continuous tense is used to indicate an action which began in the past and is still going on. By the word continuous, whenever there is a continuous, be it present continuous or present perfect continuous, you must keep in mind that the action is still going on. Here, the action started in the past, but it is still going on in the present. So, you can write down it is used to indicate an action began in the past and is still going on. Now, moving on to the example, she has been working for you since Monday. So this is one of the example of the tense present perfect tense. This is an affirmative sentence, right? Where she is the subject. You will find one change here, that is addition of been. First form of the verb, which is in ing form, and then the object. Been is the past participle of be, which is generally used in all forms of the have, right? Has or had. Now, if I need to turn the same example into a negative sentence, same way I am going to be putting not, where she has been working for you since Monday, where not will come here. So, what will it become? She has not been working for you since Monday. And if I talk about an interrogative sentence, it will start with has. So this becomes your interrogative sentence. You also denote it with a question mark. And if I talk about the structure of your present perfect continuous tense, its structure becomes subject plus has or have plus been plus first form of verb, that is an ing form, plus object. So this is the structure of your present perfect continuous tense. So now first kind of tense, present tense, is completed. Second is your past tense. First is your simple past tense. First is the simple past tense, right? So it basically denotes an action that had happened in the past. For example, I wrote a letter to Aarti. A letter was written by whom? By me to Aarti. And this action was performed in the past. So I wrote a letter to Aarti. This action is done in the past. Second is to denote a habitual action in the past. The action which is quite habitual. For example, we lived and played for years together. We played for years together in the past. This was an habitual action. What was the habitual action? Playing. Living and playing. And this action was done in the past. Again, One is negative and another is interrogative. To make it negative, what am I going to do is, I will just simply place not. But here, the negative sentence is formed with did not plus first form of verb. An interrogative in the past tense will form before subject. What will come? Did plus subject plus first form of verb. Writing the same example, changing the same sentence into the example. Like a sentence was there, I wrote a letter to Aarti. If I need to change this into negative sentence, what am I going to write is, I did not write a letter to Aarti. So this becomes what? This becomes a negative sentence. And it's in which tense? Simple past tense. Similarly, if I talk about the second example, what am I going to do is, I will place did not after the subject. We did not live and play for years together. Make sure that the verb is in first form in the simple past tense. But do not get confused with the affirmative sentence under simple past tense. Here, the example is, I wrote a letter to Aarti. What will come? Second form of the verb, right? But if we are writing a negative sentence or an interrogative sentence under simple past tense, you will be using the first form of the verb. So what is the structure of simple past tense? Subject plus second form of verb plus object. This we are talking about an affirmative sentence. If it is a negative sentence, what will come? Subject plus did not plus first form of verb plus object. Similarly, if it's an interrogative sentence, subject before subject, your sentence will start with what? Did. Subject plus first form of verb plus object. So this is the structure of your simple past tense. Moving on to the second form. Second form is past continuous tense. Past continuous tense. What is past continuous tense? Past continuous tense is used to denote an action that was going on at some time in the past. Try to understand the statement. What is past continuous tense? It is used basically to denote an action that was going on at some time in the past. So, like I said, students, whenever there is a word continuous, the action is going on. But like this is past tense, so it is was going on sometimes in the past. So the action under past continuous tense was performed in the past, but it continued for some time in the past only. Okay, you will understand it in a more better way when we take an example. For example, he was having his breakfast when I called on him. He was having his breakfast when I called on him. So let's take an example. When I called on him, he was having his breakfast. So he has finished his breakfast, but when he was having his breakfast, this action of having the breakfast went on for some time in the past. See, you cannot eat breakfast in just 2 seconds or 5 seconds. You will take at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes to have your breakfast. So this is what an example says, that he was having his breakfast when I called on him. He was having his breakfast. If we break this sentence, this part of the sentence shows an action was going on for some time in the past. Right? So this was an example of the past continuous tense. Now again, what are you going to do is to make the sentence negative, and turning it into interrogative. The negative is formed by putting not after was or were. And in interrogative, what are you going to do is you will put was or were before the subject. Now, if I need to change this example into an interrogative sentence, what am I going to do is I will put not here. Then the affirmative sentence changes into a negative sentence when I put not after was. He was not having his breakfast when I called on him. This becomes a negative sentence. And if I need to change the same sentence into an interrogative sentence, what I said, before the subject, what are you going to do is you will put was. You will place was. Was he having his breakfast when I called on him? Question mark. You are asking a question in an interrogative sentence. So, what are you going to write it? Was he having his breakfast when I called on him? So, this becomes an interrogative sentence. So, what is the actual structure of your past continuous tense? Subject, was or were plus first form of verb in ing form plus object. So this is the structure of your past continuous tense. If I need to change it into a negative sentence, like I've already written on top, you'll place not after was or were. And if you need to write it in negative form, interrogative sentence, then you will place was or were before the subject. Now moving on to the next, that is past perfect tense. Past perfect tense. What is past perfect tense? Past perfect tense denotes an action which had been completed before another action was begun. I'll just write it down here. It denotes an action which had been completed before another action was begun. You will understand in a more better way when we write it an example. For example, Rahul came when I had finished my homework. So read the sentence once again. Rahul came when I had finished my homework. See, in this particular sentence, two actions are being performed. One action is Rahul came. Another is when I had finished my homework. So, the second part of the action, like the second part of the sentence, an action performed had been completed in the past. And the second action began, that is Rahul came. So, what is past perfect tense? An action which had been completed before another action was begun. So, this is your past perfect tense. Now, in order to change it into a negative sentence or an interrogative sentence, it's just here in a negative sentence, you will place not after had, and in interrogative you will put had before the subject. Changing the same example into a negative sentence. Rahul came when I had not finished my homework. So this becomes your negative sentence when we place not after had. Now, changing the sentence into an interrogative sentence, what I said, you will place had before the subject. Had I, subject is I, finished my homework when Rahul came. So this is a question. You will put a question mark because it's an interrogative sentence. You're asking a question. Had I finished my homework when Rahul came? You're asking whether you had finished your homework when Rahul came. So this is the example of past perfect tense. The last form of the past tense is past perfect continuous tense. What is past perfect continuous tense? Past perfect continuous tense is used to denote an action that had been going on at or before some point of time in the past. Write it down, an action that had been going on at or before some point of time in the past. Repeating once again, past perfect continuous, the definition of the past perfect continuous, an action that had been going on at or before some point of time in the past. Focusing on the word continuous. What does it mean, students? It means that the action had been going on for some time. So, moving on to the example, she had been playing the violin for an hour before she went for a drive. See the actions performed in the sentence. She had been playing the violin for an hour. She went for a drive. So, an action that had been going on. What was going on? An action had been going on. And here we're talking about an action that is playing the violin. She had been playing the violin for an hour. Then she went for a picnic before some point of time in the past. Before she went for a drive. Before going for a drive, what she was doing? She had been playing the violin for an hour before going for a drive. Before she went for a drive. So, two actions performed here, but one action that had been going on or before in the past, some point of time in the past, then the second one. So this is your past perfect continuous tense. If I need to change this into a negative sentence, so what I'm going to do is she had not been playing. I will place not after had. And an interrogative sentence. An interrogative sentence, what am I going to do is, I will place had plus subject plus been plus verb in ing form plus object. So this becomes an interrogative sentence. So if I need to change this particular sentence into an interrogative sentence, you will look at the structure. This is the structure. You will look at it very carefully. You will start with had, then you will place subject. Had she plus been playing the violin for an hour before she went for a drive? Question mark. Do not forget to place the question mark if the question is given to you to change it into an interrogative sentence. So, this is the fourth form of your past tense, that is past perfect continuous tense. So, student, similarly, you will have for your future tense also. We will continue your future tense in the next video lecture. I will give you the exercise related to the topic in your homework portal. Make sure that you do the exercises in your register to